This is not the final episode of Weaponized.
Join us this week for a special edition of Weaponized in Washington, D.C.
Since we released the Jellyfish UAP, it was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back.
It is an effort to make this go away. It is an effort to make AARO go away. We did our job. We didn't find anything. There's a report that was mandated by Congress. There he is, already spilling the beans about it, speaking for an agency he no longer works for.
The world is asking for first-hand witnesses, people who have first-hand knowledge, eyes on seeing the exotic technology, reverse engineering, and we're going to go meet a guy just like that.
Secrets, cover-ups, and strange phenomena.
UFOs and ideas that challenge reality itself. All these mysteries, all this time. Are we ever going to get to the bottom of these?
My name is George Knapp. I dig into news stories that others can't or won't.
I'm Jeremy Corbell, and for some reason, people tell me things they probably shouldn't. And this is Weaponized. Look at this guy. Wow, where are we? Is that some big icon?
Oh, some big obelisk.
So we're in a hallway at the Waldorf Astoria here, and I don't know about you, but it kind of gives me the Shining kind of a vibe, doesn't it? But this is a fabulous place, and look at this. I mean, this is a great place to have meetings, which we've used this atrium to meet all kinds of people, have a good conversation, and it's fabulous.
This is Weaponized, episode 50, special Washington edition. Jeremy, you put me up in the Motel 6 here. Where are you staying? In the Elysium Palace or something?
Man, it's always a curse. I swear, I get in there, I'm like, make sure, get this guy, George Knapp, in something better than a closet. But for some reason, I always got the bigger, nicer, longer hallway hotel room. Sorry, buddy.
So we were here in Washington 7 months ago for the hearing with Dave Grusch, Dave Fravor, Ryan Graves, the committee. It was the described to us by members of Congress as the biggest hearing of the year in terms of public interest, media interest. But it's been 7 months, and we wanted to sort of get the lay of the land, get a feel for taking the temperature of the UFO issue in Washington, because so much has happened since then, right?
Yeah, that was a big part of us coming out here, is to, on the ground, speak with people. But can we go a step further on that?
Sure.
87 years ago. Okay, I have no idea what that means. What does that mean?
87 years ago.
Anyway, we find ourselves here again, George.
Yes, we are.
All right, here's me and G-Man. We're up to no good.
No, entirely up to good. Entirely good.
It's funny, man. Every time we go to D.C., surprising things occur, right?
It's true. Oh, look where we are. I'll be going.
Oh, she's great. All right. So for me, honestly, it was a two-part thing. One part was there's been a number of changes of guard when it comes to the people that deal with the legislation, the people in power about the UAP thing, not only how seriously we take it, but how much can the public know? And there's a big divide there. There's a big divide from what people are willing to allow the public to know and how seriously they take it on the inside. So UFOs is seen higher than weapons of mass destruction. It is an immediate issue within our intelligence agencies, within our militaries, and as you say, on the Hill. That was told to us repeatedly over this weekend. Can you confirm that for people?
That's true. I mean, we've been hearing it. We didn't quite know what to make of it, but we've been hearing that for the past 2 years from federal employees and people who are dialed in and didn't understand if that really is the view that's held by people here in Washington. But this trip confirmed to us that it is, in fact, that it is a high priority and a very sensitive matter. And it explains a lot of the excessive secrecy. And I say excessive because the secrecy levels are so ridiculous. And we saw a lot of evidence in that in our conversations with people on Capitol Hill this week.
So the conflict is, or not the conflict, but we're trying to find that merge point, right? Is we are journalists, and it is our job, if we believe it to be in the best interest of the public, to know something, not only to learn it ourselves, but to get it out wide and far and fast and correctly. That is not the agenda. That is the opposite agenda of a lot of intelligence agencies and a lot of the people that we've been meeting with, is to learn the truth, but not necessarily to get that truth out there in the public. So it's funny when we meet with people, there's this kind of dance we do, which is like, look, we're here confidentially. However, if we can find a place where we can move the ball forward and make what we're calling progress on this UFO thing, then that's what we want to do. Now, I want to be honest with our audience, which is that the second reason we came out is not just because of the change of guard in like organizations, like AARO, there's a change of guard. There's a lot of people behind the scenes where there's a change of guard. So we are being asked to trust people we don't know. And we're trying to see if we can trust them. And it's also working the other way, because when you are brokering information, when you are brokering firsthand whistleblowers into government, we need to assure protection, that kind of thing. And they need to know that we're not jacking them around. So it was a very fruitful, I don't know how far we can go, but it's a very fruitful thing. But one last thing, to be honest. Since we released the Jellyfish UAP, it was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. That is a legitimate UAP. Whatever you define UAP is, it's a legitimate UAP, and people know it. And not only that, but we promised that we would come here to DC and we would give exact location, time, people that confiscated the material, even provide witnesses. We said we would do that. So part of why we're here too is trying to see if we can do that in a way that is ethical and safe, for sources and witnesses. So in a sense, the other reason why we're here, it is self-protection. But it's protection not only for us, but it's also for the people that do trust us with their lives and livelihood, not to demean it or put it down at all. That's the level it's at. So I just wanted to get a sense from you, George. I know I would like to hear from you about Congress. What's going on? You're politically, you understand stuff like the climate. So I want to hear about that and about talking about UFOs. And then also, were we successful on this trip?
So for Congress, one of the reasons we came here now is because of what they have on their plate. I mean, when we got to DC earlier this week, we did not know for sure if the government was going to shut down or not. I mean, they had not reached an agreement on spending, and there was a really good chance that the government would shut down altogether, which would be a disaster on so many levels. So that was on their front burner. Then the Supreme Court drops a decision to hear this case, Donald Trump, and whether he is immune from prosecution for crimes committed while he's in office, which throws the presidential race into a tumultuous state. That was a big issue, a front burner issue for members of Congress. They don't know if the government's going to continue. The presidential race is upended. And then there are a whole bunch of other things that are on their plate that all were coming to a head right now. The Ukraine, Gaza, the border crisis, all those things are hot button issues. They are front burner issues for Congress. And we're trying to get a sense of, with so much on their plate, has the UAP issue been moved to the back burner? Is it the kind of thing that they're just too busy to deal with? And the answer, as it turns out, is no. For the most outspoken members of Congress who made clear their interest in this issue, it continues to be of interest. We spoke directly with several members, elected officials, who are clearly still highly committed to get to the bottom of it, but they've run into some roadblocks that we'll get into in the course of this episode. In addition, you mentioned about the changing of the guard. I don't think people appreciate just how important senior staff members are in Congress in getting things done, especially on this issue. So after December 2017, that New York Times story hit. I know for a fact how Congress reacted because Harry Reid, my friend Senator Reid, started getting phone calls. What the hell is this? We had a secret UFO study program. We were spending millions of dollars on it. Why didn't I know about this? From his former colleagues on the Hill. And then, in addition to members starting asking questions, senior staffers with key committees, the committees who deal with really sensitive national security matters, they started moving and they started making it possible for key witnesses to come over, meet with staff, and then later started meeting with elected members of Congress to tell them what was going on with the UFO issue, that this is real, that there is a cover-up, that there is evidence, that there are key studies that have been done, and there have been reports compiled, paid for with public dollars that members of Congress not only had never seen, but didn't know existed at all. Those people really are the nuts and bolts of how stuff gets done in Washington, especially on this issue, because they have high security clearances themselves. They're allowed to see the black budget, to see how tax dollars are being spent on really sensitive programs and military technologies. Those are the people that are key to this. And as you said, you used the phrase changing the guard. There has been a significant changing of the guard at some of those high-level positions. We wanted to get a sense of what happens now. Are the people who are leaving government still interested in this topic? And who has replaced them? And are they as interested as well? And I think the answers to both of those questions were pretty positive, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. Successful fucking mission. I mean, I'm blown away. So look, I set up a bunch of different meetings for us, from old guard to new guard. You had conversations without going too far. I mean, you had conversations with people that worked directly with Harry Reid back in the day on the UFO programs. Wow. For the first time in person, how cool is that? But then we're starting to make contact with individuals that are currently hungry for, what do they keep saying? Firsthand witnesses, protected, come forward, come to us. If you can do that, if they can come, we will have a critical mass. And this is still of high priority, even with all the chaos in DC and in our government. This is still of the highest priority. In the car with the G-Man, and we are going to one of our various meetings. Are you excited about the meeting?
I am. Maybe, we had some great meetings in DC this week, but this is the big one. The world is asking for firsthand witnesses, people who have firsthand knowledge, eyes on seeing the exotic technology, reverse engineering, and we're going to go meet a guy just like that.
He said too much.
Okay.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, man, because we could be lying.
Yeah.
Well, whatever, man. I love rolling with G-Man. We're going to have fun. We've done a bunch of meetings this week, and they've been really cool. This is a unique one because it's a friend of mine who's got a story to tell and has already gone to authorities, which is pretty neat. So here we go. Excited. This has been a great trip overall. Would you agree, Mr. Knapp?
It's been tremendous. We got to meet with really some key people on Capitol Hill, longtime staffers, elected members. They're still very much interested in this mystery. There's been a lot of pushback for them and a lot of heartache and problems as a result of their interest in UFOs, but they're sticking with it. This will be the exclamation point on this whole week, what we're about to do. But we can't say where it is or who it's with.
Yeah, that sucks for people. But this is not our first meeting.
No, but it's the first meeting today.
There we go. Yeah, you got to be real clear. Anyway, here we go. This is how it works. This is what we're doing. Hope you enjoy it as much as we do. For us, it's always about safety. Can we bring them in, or will there be reprisal like there was on David Grusch, like there was on Lou Elizondo, like there's people not even like officially in government like Hal Puthoff. All these people, particularly Grusch recently, is kind of this beacon for how these other people are going to get treated. People have come to us. They're scared. I mean, they're scared, and they should be, because every time I ask, every time we're in those meetings, there's no ultimate protection. However, some of the people that we're meeting with, I have high confidence that they would do it well, and with every means to their ability that they have, they'd be able to protect witnesses. So what the message I got, tell me if I'm wrong, but the message I got is, good job, keep going, bring in those people, we will protect them if they come from you. That's the message that I got from people. I do want to go to one other place. you did a coast to coast show recently, but before we get into that, is that the message you got from everybody we met with? Is that if we bring people in, they will do it confidentially?
Yes, but more direct, at least what I heard from multiple people that we talked to was there's a little bit of frustration. You see it on social media and criticism of what's going on right now. Frustration of people who say, hey, where's the evidence? Where's the firsthand witnesses who can show us where these things are, where the crash retrieval stuff is, where the reverse engineering programs are, the saucers, the bodies. Where is it? We heard that again and again from folks here in positions of power in Washington. We want it. We'd like to see it, but we're not so far. And, there's multiple reasons for that. The first is what you just mentioned, is there are witnesses who have direct firsthand knowledge, some of whom are on the record behind closed doors, have come forward already, but they are scared. They're afraid of going forward and crossing a line from which there's no coming back. And they have good reason to be, because we know some of the things that have happened to them. I was hoping that maybe you could share with our listeners sort of a status report on Dave Grusch. We do stay in touch with them on a regular basis, and the whole world's been waiting for this op-ed that was promised that he was going to put out in February that was going to be fairly explosive or revelatory. We haven't seen it yet. And Dave has testified and said in public multiple times he has firsthand witnesses who do work in these programs, that he has brought them forward. So give me a sense of, where is that? Where is it? When do we get to see it?
Okay. So, George, I want people to talk for themselves. But with that said, I think I can surmise a few things, right? First of all, I'd like to clarify something. We've been pretty clear. What is firsthand knowledge? That comes in different forms. I've never said that David Grusch didn't have firsthand knowledge.
Right.
So what does that mean? So you see, so some people talked to us this week and they said, documents are a version of firsthand knowledge because we can run those down. Of course, we want somebody working on the program currently to step forward to us. We bring them in. Now, people have, but the question is, what are the repercussions? David Grusch, I would argue that David Grusch does have some firsthand knowledge, and that's something that we've talked about before. So I'm okay saying that. Sometimes if you see photographs that are internal to your agency, that's a firsthand knowledge situation. So Dave will probably talk more later about his understanding. He answered that really carefully in Congress. So with that said, look, I told you I'm done. Dave's a friend. It's like Bob Lazar. Like, we vetted David Grusch way before he came out. He is who he says he is. He did what he said he did. He found what he said he did. He found what he said that he found. But there's more to it. So everybody wants to hear an op-ed from David Grusch. Like, it'd be amazing. Like, New York Times op-ed. Then you counter the bullshit that you heard from like people like what's his name, Patrick. So there you go. He could do that. Part of me wonders, is there a bigger card that could be played? And I don't know, George.
What could you mean? Possibly mean?
Just saying that there may be a bigger card. Now here's the other thing. We do want people to publicly come forward. We are going to have new hearings. I'll just say it, man. We met with our friend Rep Burchett. It was awesome. We had a private meeting, and then you brought some camera crew in. It was crazy, George, by the way. But you got all these cameras around you. But so people will see some of that meeting. But we did have a private meeting. And I got to say, Representative Burchett is dogged about this. He is not letting it go. He knows he's been lied to. He has been pressured. Probably not UFO related, but did you hear how he was swatted? Did you hear about that?
He told us the story. Yeah.
Right.
Swatted. Yeah. Cops went to his house. It was supposedly a very dangerous situation. I mean, you could look into that and say someone is trying to get him killed. You know, he's told us before, the last time we were here, that he'd been targeted by members of his own party who were angry about him being so outspoken on this issue, that maybe he needed to be primaried, that he needed to be kicked out of office, beaten in the next election later this year. He recognizes that he has messed with the primal forces of nature by taking this on, as other members of Congress, elected members in both houses, they've arrived at the same conclusion. Now, you know, one of the central backstories involved in our visit here is the pushback. And we've been talking about it on Weaponized for a long time, that the closer you get to the goodies, the greater the pushback is going to be. Well, it's here. It's been happening in a lot of different ways.
So, me and George Knapp, we're in DC. I think that a lot of people are scared right now, which is really freaking weird.
They should be.
Yeah, well, that's what he says. I'm like, we're open books, man. I don't know what's going on, but got a lot of really cool meetings. Very excited. Under the radar here. Nobody knows we're here, except you tell one person, and it spreads like wildfire.
I'm just looking around. Who's the spook in the room that's watching us?
He's the spook. Look at Man in Black right there. Anyway, this will be great. We're doing a bunch of meetings. They're going to be great. Later.
For members of Congress, I think they represent the greatest threat to finding the goods, to, you know, actually tracking down the reverse engineering programs, finding out what's been done in them, where the stuff is, and what progress has been made. Congress is going to be able to do that if the right whistleblowers come forward and testify and give them specific information that is actionable now. So there is a concerted effort to get Congress to back off. You know, we've seen individual members attacked and ridiculed on social media. They understand that comes with the territory. You know, Tim Burchett has pretty thick skin. He says, if I'm not getting attacked, I'm not doing my job, kind of a thing. So he understands that that's part of the game. But the level, the viciousness of the attacks on key members of Congress, the nonsense stories that appear to try to embarrass them, there is an obvious and concerted effort to get Congress to walk away from this. And as I said, there's so many hot button issues on their plates right now that it would not be unusual for that to happen, because it's happened before. Periods in American history where the public is highly motivated, where the media is covering this issue, where Congress is demanding answers about UFOs and what we really know, and then it all goes away. And it could happen again. And that's what's happening right now. Not only the social media attacks, but mainstream media attacks. Folks like Sean Kirkpatrick coming out and outrageously dumping on his own agency. We've found no evidence. It's all a bunch of malarkey. And then attacking members of Congress where he says they've been bamboozled by UFO religious zealots who pulled the wool over their eyes. There's nothing to this. You members of Congress are idiots. You've been fooled. That is an outrageous line to cross for a guy who was the head of a federal agency for what, a cup of coffee? He was there for a week. I mean, really, 18 months, something like that. Not exactly devoted his life to this whole thing, but has said, we didn't find anything. You people have been fooled. It is an effort to make this go away. It is an effort to make AARO go away. We did our job. We didn't find anything. Let's stop wasting money on this. That seems to me to be an active, ongoing effort by him and by allies of him who put him in that job in the first place. The fact that Sean Kirkpatrick would dump on his own agency, we've been told there are good people that work at AARO, that they'd like to investigate this honestly, that they'd like to get to the bottom of it and have witnesses come in. What sensitive witness is ever going to trust them again? We know people who've gone to them. You've sent people to AARO in good faith, thinking, all right, that's the process. That's what they created this batch to do. Let's go ahead and do it. They go ahead, they go through the proper process. They think they're going to be protected. They think their information is going to be taken seriously, and then they get crapped on. What do you think is going to happen? There.
Yeah, it's fucking insane. You told me this was probably a new Project Blue Book. You told us all that on Weaponized. And I was like, come on, man, let's give it a go. Kirkpatrick, like, it'll be great, all that stuff. No, you're right. So I am sending nobody to AARO now. Nobody. And the new interim head, I do hear he's a good guy. He understands there is a problem. That's a quote. He understands there is a problem. However, he may be restrained by the mandate of AARO, controlled by the mandate of AARO. So even if he's a good guy, he might have to report things in a way. And let's be real straightforward. Yeah, we did send people to AARO. You and I, absolutely. I very intentionally was on the phone with many, many people. I said, don't mention my name, but if what you've been telling me for years is true, you got to go to them. And I'll tell you one experience. There was a lieutenant colonel that was taking, one of these reports. And I know the guy, I know about the guy. We haven't met yet. But, a good listener, somebody that people we know and trust says, he's a good dude. But the process was a witness goes in, gives him all the information. There was a surprise couple other people on the call, which is just rude because it's sensitive information. And this is a proactive individual, somebody who was like, I want to do good for America. I want to tell what's going on. Tells the story. He was told that he's going to have a write-up of what he said to make sure it's accurate before they submit it, and they would be in contact. After that call, nothing. Just destroyed the credibility of AARO following through on the basic fundamental things to protect witnesses and to make them feel that they are part of the process and at ease. And guess what? That's spread around. So if you're the lieutenant colonel and you're watching this, I'm talking about you fucked up. So you should call me. I'll tell you how to mend that. So anyway, with that said, AARO, the whole thing, nobody's going to AARO anymore.
Well, that's a shame because, it is a program. Congress created it. It's got a budget. It's got staff members. We think there are probably some pretty good people there who really are honest and forthright about trying to do their job. And now they are hamstrung. And worse still, not only does Dr. Kirkpatrick come out and dump all over his own agency and the job that was done and cut their kneecaps off in terms of other people coming forward. Now he's gone from that agency and is still being the spokesperson for him. There's a report that was mandated by Congress, by law. It's supposed to be out by March 7th. There he is already spilling the beans about it, spinning the narrative that it's not going to find any evidence. It's going to show that there's nothing to this. Again, speaking for an agency he no longer works for, why is he still a consultant to AARO? Why is he involved at all? This guy obviously hated his job, hated that organization, hates the topic, and he's a consultant speaking to media on their behalf. Get rid of that guy. Cut that off. He shouldn't be there anymore.
That's some planned horse shit right there. Why do you have a guy like you? That should be illegal. Nobody trusts Sean. Dr. Kirkpatrick, nobody trusts you. You've lost the trust of everybody, right? So here we go. That's okay. We're not sending people there anymore. We have created a new way in order to bring witnesses forward properly, ultimately through the ICIG, sure, but there's another way. And that's what we're doing now. That's what we're encouraging. So when the witnesses come forward to us, as they continue to do, we have a new, better, secure way with people that we either trust or are learning to trust. And so that's where we're at. Look, I want to say it, man. I don't know if this will make the cut or whatever, but I want to tell you just our audience, I want to tell them a couple things. Man, it's fun what George and I do. So George, I'm having fun. Here we are. We're having all these secret meetings, all this stuff. Nobody wants to be seen in public with us. Why? Because we're quote unquote nuclear. We're journalists, right? But we can meet with people confidentially, take off that journalist hat to try to become informed. And we will respect confidentiality. It's not a secret meeting. It's a confidential meeting. Those can be in bars. Those can be in restaurants. Those can be in parks. Those can be, in a skiff. We've done all of those, right? But what I thought was funny, George, I thought our audience would like to hear this because it's kind of fun for me. I imagine they'd enjoy this. So, I set up all these people. It's like back to back. We're trying to figure out, man, how do we get each meeting to be private? Oh my God. And some people, they even know each other and we don't want them to overlap because we keep everything isolated and private. There was this funny incident. We got one guy in, we're talking and the meeting goes over. I'm like, man, you gotta get the hell out of here. You've done tradecraft, right? time to use it. So he had to get out, right? But that was just a friend, like just a friendly meeting. And then the next one was also just a friend. It wasn't anything, it was informative, but it wasn't anything, like whistleblowers or,
right.
Oh, definitely not that, but just like, it wasn't anything specifically related, but it was just funny to see like two tradecraft individuals, which just means like you learn how to maneuver without being seen, to like get out and get in. It was so funny. I was cracking up on the inside because these people know each other. They're just kind of friends, but everybody stays apart. So I think I can go that far and say that. But the other thing I want to say very directly, we had a meeting with Representative Luna, and it was a powerful meeting. And I have to say, she's a badass. I don't know much about politics. As a human being, she is a pit bull, and she is smart as a whip. And to be able to have that moment to cross-reference names, ideas, things that are going on, what the trajectory is forward, the distrust of AARO, like all these things. It was really powerful for me in my own journey in this, trying to figure out this UFO conundrum, is to have a meeting like that where we're talking at a level where a lot of what you'd have to catch up on with most people, she was right there. And I hope this makes the cut. I hope she's cool with us talking about it. Do you agree that was a really great meeting?
Oh, it was a great. Again, our friend Tim Burchett made that possible. We mentioned that we wanted to meet her while we were in DC, and he said, let's go. Get up, let's go. Let's walk down the hall, down the stairs, go to her office, and walk right on in and set that in motion. And we were going to get 5 minutes with her. We ended up spending a lot more time than that. And I was really impressed with her. We got to meet her husband. Her newborn was there. Her key aides, she had a couple of key aides that were in the room. We closed the doors, had a great conversation. We can't really get into specifics about the conversation because it was private. We agreed that it would be private. But at the exact moment that we're sitting there with Congresswoman Luna, this story breaks around the world about her. Her and Matt Gaetz, her colleague from Florida, had supposedly had a secret briefing, maybe classified, where they were shown video of an alien. And that story goes all over. Congresswoman Luna does not comment about it. She says, I'm no comment. I can't talk about it, which adds fuel to that fire. And it becomes this big scandalous story on social media, whipped into a frenzy, I think, on purpose by people who want to paint her in a bad light. Now, we have some insight into the legitimacy of the claim that was made. I don't know how far we should go, but I'm just going to say it now. If we have to cut it out, we will. But the story that's floating around is not legit. Okay, from what we know, there was no such video that was shown to her and Congressman Gaetz. So somebody got their information wrong. Maybe it was meant to make them look silly, or make them look sensational, or to, I don't know, whip up followers on Twitter or X or whatever it was. But we can say with some confidence that story, as reported, is not accurate.
As reported, that story is not accurate. There's always a kernel of truth when these things come out. And so that's something for her to talk about, not for us to talk about.
Right.
With that said, I want to backtrack a second. Man, look, I have been a long-time listener, a few-time caller into Coast to Coast. I got to say, man, your last Coast to Coast AM episode, which was last Saturday night, or 2 Saturdays ago by the time people watch this, it was about the kind of WikiLeaks scandal, the disinformation where people were going in and fucking around with Wikipedia pages. Like, I tried for years to say, it's not Bob Lazar, the conspiracy theorist. On Wikipedia, I was like, hey, I tell anybody who had a Wikipedia account, change it to Bob Lazar, owner of United Nuclear. You know Bob, I know Bob. Bob Lazar's not a conspiracy theorist. Yet it kept getting changed back. That's my only experience. I know I got a Wikipedia page. You do too. I've seen that on mine. They like pare it down. But I thought, this is no big deal. These are just people just being like, whatever. It's like global awareness. Okay, good. People changed around. Holy cow. When I listened to your Coast to Coast about this with that guy, Rob Heatherly is
Right.
his name.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, man. I didn't know. George, thank you for educating all of us. People push it off like it's no big deal. It's a big deal. You have people pretending not to really know each other, going in under pseudonyms and completely gutting basic information about you, about Hal Puthoff, about anybody, Bob Lazar. It's incredible to me. So can you tell me a little bit real quick what you learned from doing that little miniature investigation and what you told on your show so people could go listen to it?
Well, we've talked about pushback. The closer you get to the truth, the greater the pushback becomes. This is sort of another indication. There is information warfare that is underway on social media platforms. It's not just cranky old farts who are in a bad mood writing about UFOs and putting down anybody who gets involved in it. It is an organized effort. It is a coordinated effort. And Wikipedia is an example of that. Now, I don't check my Wikipedia page. I hadn't been on there in probably 5 years. People would tell me, they go on there and they said, there's some really kind of goofy, snarky stuff on your page. They got your wrong birth date, for one thing. And there was a lady I know, Allie Duncan, who said, I'm going to correct some of this stuff. And she tried to correct, for example, the birth date, which should be pretty simple, and a few other things, and trying to add some links that are a little more balanced about my life and things that I've done. And immediately, as soon as she makes those edits, they all get kicked out again. It's like an alarm bell went off in somebody's office that somebody had tried to correct the glaring errors on my page and to make it a little more balanced in terms of what I had done other than just UFO reporting. And they kicked it all out. So she went back in and tried to make it again, and they kicked it out again. And I think the third time she tried to make those changes, not aware of what was going on, they banned her. These editors of Wikipedia banned her from ever making any changes, at least for the next 6 months. And she was really confused. So I put her in touch with this guy, Rob Heatherly, who's been fighting this fight. He had discovered this group called the Gorilla Skeptics of Wikipedia. Guerrilla warfare, like, hit and run. You come out of the jungle and attack and then go back and hide. And that's how they operate, is mostly they hide. There's a lady named Susan who's in charge of the Gorilla Skeptics. Yeah, now you'd think she's in charge of this big, highfalutin, big brain scientific group. She has worked her entire life as a photographer in JCPenney's. So it's not like she got a PhD from Harvard and is really defending the integrity of science itself. She's not a scientist by any means. Most of the other people who are most active in the Gorilla Skeptics are anonymous. They use anonymous names, and they are clearly slanted. They have a slanted point of view about UFOs, ufologists, and they target, there's more than 100 of them. And the way Wikipedia works is it's by consensus. If you're going to make a change on a page, factual error, or include a link, it's by consensus. Well, whatever page that they control, which is several thousand of them, they have 100 or more members who come in and make sure that they always have the greater numbers. So they always achieve the consensus. They decide who can make changes on these pages. And some of it is so petty and juvenile, the kinds of things that they do. Lou Elizondo, for example, was born in Texas. His Wikipedia page insists he was born in Florida. He's provided his passport and other official documents to him. Look, I was born in Texas. Why are you doing this? They won't let him change it. It's just petty stuff, something like somebody would do in high school just to mess with them. They have done Hal Puthoff. Hal Puthoff is a brilliant man. He's a real physicist. He's published numerous articles in all kinds of scientific publications on mainstream scientific stuff, in addition to work he's done on more exotic sort of topics that we care about. They've gutted Hal Puthoff's page. They won't let him establish his actual credentials on that page because they want to make fun of him. They want to lessen his credibility. If somebody around the world were to look at Hal Puthoff, they'd see a very slanted biography of him because that's all they will allow. John Alexander. Colonel Alexander was a hero. He was boots on the ground, special forces guy in Vietnam. He led troops into the jungle. He had firefights. He put his life on the line for his country. After that, he got a PhD. He was the director of non-lethal weapons at Los Alamos Lab. He remains on multiple defense-oriented think tanks. and DOD consulting organizations. He's a credible guy. They got him as well. They won't allow him to change things that are on his Wikipedia page. And they've found a way to bend the rules of Wikipedia that allows them to distort anything related to UFOs, any pages related to UFOs. I looked at Harry Reid's page. Senator Reid had, he's the longest serving senator in Nevada history. He became the majority leader of the Senate. He was key in getting all kinds of huge legislation passed in this country, a huge historic impact. And they described his interest in UFOs. He was convinced in late 1989 by some conspiracy theorists that there was something to this. Well, the conspiracy theorists and ufologists talked him into it. I am the person who talked him into it. And in 1989, I was not a conspiracy theorist or a ufologist. I still am not either of those things. I was a reporter. I hadn't written any news stories about UFOs. I told him what I was working on because I wanted him to know. And that led to great things down the road. But they just want to crap on people and put it in the worst possible light. So we had Rob Heatherly on Coast to Coast for a couple hours. There's a young lady named Allie Duncan who had been the person trying to correct my birth date. It's not like we're not next door neighbors. She doesn't work for me. She just wanted to do it and got shut down and couldn't understand what was going on behind the Gorilla Skeptics of Wikipedia. They've been a little silent since that 2-hour episode because we let them have it. And I hope that the public will pay attention to this because anybody who's giving money to Wikipedia, they ask for donations. I have donated in the past, not a lot of money, but a couple of times because it's a useful resource for almost anything else, except the topics that are controlled by the Gorilla Skeptics. I hope that the public cuts off Wikipedia. I don't think you should support them if it is not an honest source of information. And I hope that it gets the attention of the people who own that operation and that they'll make some changes.
So what I got from your show, and I know we talked a little bit about this in the last Weaponized, but what I got from really hearing the details in your show is the importance of kind of this counter narrative, this targeted. It is a war of ideas, and why this is important. Like I go to Wikipedia to just like get some basics, and I see the edits, and you expect it's a balanced look. So you're like, it might not be right, but it's balanced. But then I looked at after your show, I was like, well, what they've been doing with my page. So I went up there and looked. There is one. I looked at it. What I noticed, the last thing they did, they leave it all starting with, my movie stuff and art stuff. Some of the work that I'm most proud of is obtaining and releasing with you some of these really powerful physical evidence images of UAP, of UFOs. That whole section was removed. It's like that part of my life doesn't exist. It's focused on film and art and not my reporting. So when I saw that, I thought, you know what? We are bigger. We are stronger. The public is more robust. It's vaster, more diverse ideas than this little group going on doing all the changes. So what I propose here, everybody listening to this, if you want to create balance, go in there. See if you have problems. Try to put in facts. Just put in some basic facts as you understand them. Nothing skewed. Put the facts in the UFO pages on Wikipedia, and let's see if we can get a more balanced environment when it comes to UAP, because there is a group, if not multiple groups, that are cohorts in trying to diminish the impact of the work that people have done to try to expose the truth about UFOs. So I'm tasking you right now, the listener, the watcher, not that it's like so important, Wikipedia, but hey, I go look at it to try to get a balanced idea. I know some stuff's false. Go in and put in facts. So when you did that episode, I just really wanted to kind of highlight that this is a war of ideas, and this type of character assassination through omission is really interesting. I mean, this is like cyber warfare being perpetrated upon the American and global public, just on these little things.
Yeah, and it's one of multiple theaters where that's been taught too. You and I both know there are a group of people, they use Twitter and other social media platforms and have been really trying to get us arrested for a while. You see it. Well, why do these guys leak this stuff, and why aren't they thrown into prison? This is classified stuff. It's from classified servers. These guys need to go to jail. They're trying to encourage, hey, Department of Justice, why don't you go after them? Well, this has come to the attention of the Department of Justice. We are aware of that. And it is a little disconcerting at times to think that that is the case. But the unspoken message they want to give is the reason we're not in jail is we must be working with them. We're working with the secret government to put out these ridiculous videos that are all completely bunk, and we're part of the secret government. I think that's what they're trying to say.
Oh, that's so stupid. Look, man, yeah, that's so stupid. I don't even want to entertain that. Look, the fact is the understanding of UAP is hinges on this idea of a war of ideas. I was exposed specifically to a document by the CIA. I was exposed to it as a journalist, and it said, in quotes, shape the emerging UAP narrative. I can see how that's being done through social media, but honestly, I think the word is impotent. It's completely impotent, these attacks, because they do not have the effect that is intended. Maybe it's this slow, corrosive nature that they're looking for to stop witnesses or firsthand whistleblowers, people that worked on UAP technology for our government and are currently in there, from coming forward. These little piddly attacks ain't going to do shit. So it's nice. They're giving it a good run, giving it a good go. They're using social media, Wikipedia, trying to get on the news by calling every single producer every single time I do a news hit, the same people, and they never get on. So here's the deal, man. Whatever they're doing to try to stop this basic information from coming out, we can fight harder. We can fight better. We can outpace, outmaneuver all of these idiots. So that's what I suggest people do is they go in and correct the record factually. I'm not asking you to be like, don't say that to my pal. What I'm saying is go put in the facts. And if they get removed, let everybody know they've gotten removed. So here's the next thing, man. You talked about Kirkpatrick and this report coming out and how he's still acting like a spokesperson for an organization which he left. And he's talking about details that are going to be released in what they're calling the historical report on UAP. Now, all us UFO people, right? We're like, oh, thank God they're going to come out with a historical report. Well, we know they're kind of already like Blue Book. We know they're going to try to diminish. We know that they've probably even seeded or tried to seed people with information to try to be able to discredit it later. That's just fact, man. That's tradecraft. That's what people do is in these agencies. But here's the deal. Kirkpatrick, he's been talking out of school. I can't believe he's hired consultant. Didn't he just get a job at Oak Ridge, which is one of the companies he was protecting? By the way, George, I want to show you something. For our visual viewers, when you're using these videos now, you can do the coolest things. Watch these laser beams, dude. Look at that with smoke coming up. Anyway, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
There'll be memes about that. That was nothing other than me being all rock and roll with laser beams. But anyway, that was pretty neat. I saw because the thumbs up came up. Okay, so check it out. I wanted to get your opinion on this historical report. We do know some people that have written this for agencies prior to all of this kind of breaking open. We don't know what they're going to put out in this historical report. What do you think the tone? It'll be big news when the UFO historical report comes out. But Kirkpatrick is spearheading it. What do you expect for that, George? Crystal ball.
Well, I think he probably had a lot to do with the tone of the report that was being prepared before he left. I hope that the people who are still at AARO can make some changes to that tone and include a more balanced look at the history of the phenomena and the records that they've been able to find. I suspect, though, that they probably have not found the smoking gun evidence, that, that stuff is buried. It's always been buried. I suspect it is highly classified, and then even people at AARO are not cleared to see it. There are those who certainly want that report to come out and basically paint the picture that there's nothing to this. We've done our job, and we really can't find anything. But step one should be cut off Sean Kirkpatrick. He didn't like the job. He didn't like the mission. He obviously doesn't like his own agency to treat him so shabbily. Why is he still a consultant, a spokesperson? Get rid of that guy. Congress could say, he's out. If he didn't like it so much, he hated it, cut him off. Get rid of him.
Fire.
He should have no influence on the direction or the tone of that report that's coming out. I have low expectations. I hope I'll be surprised that they do find some suggestions and evidence that suggests that this study should go on, that we should continue to throw a wider net and try to get information. We know that there is information out there. We know that there are witnesses who have already come in and told a story. There is some reluctance. I get the sense from members of Congress that they've taken a breath. They've taken a step back. They're waiting to see what happens next. They'd like to see firsthand evidence that sort of could be smoking gun type stuff. I don't think that they have seen something yet. I know they've heard about specific locations where things were, where stuff was stashed, hidden away. It is not actionable from what we were told, that some of that information is old enough where the likelihood that things could have been moved around is pretty high.
Yeah.
And I suspect that even if they found something that they knew a location where something was a week ago, the chances are it could be moved in between now and when they show up to look for it.
Now I see what you're saying. Yeah, I confirm that. Absolutely. There is a fear that if they bring someone in and information is not like right, fresh and new, they're just going to move it. But I will disagree with you on this. I don't think they're sitting back being passive. That was not the impression that I got. I see people leaving and still wanting to be 100% on this issue to the day they die. And I see new people in that can have influence, that can do good work. But they understand this is a real issue. But, in order to do that, they say they need critical mass. They need just like 5 more direct firsthand people. And the more current, the better. So that's what we would like to be able to facilitate for them. But we need to trust them first, that they're not going to harm these people, that they're not going to be harmed. The worst thing that could happen, or let's hope that if it goes in their direction, the worst thing that does happen is just people trying to ruin their credibility through what is it called, libel or whatever, you're saying false things about them. But I disagree that there's even a sitting back. My impression, and I could be wrong, but my impression was they are hungry, they are ready, and they are willing to rock.
I'd agree with that. They're willing to rock. I just got a sense of they've taken a pause to sort of take it all in and give some thought to where it might go next. I will go back to this point about witnesses. We do need more witnesses that would come forward and say specific things, smoking gun type witnesses. But the people that we know that have already taken some very brave steps are scared. This is not something we're exaggerating or making up. They're scared for good reason. There are things that they have given testimony in what they thought would be a secure setting where their identity would be protected, and it got out. And they have already paid a consequence and are continuing to have their lives pressured. They look at what happened to Dave Grusch, the slime job that was done on him, the stuff about his personal background. Everyone has something in their life that they don't want to come out. And I can imagine them thinking about, God, what's going to happen if I press this further? Is that story, is that chapter of my life going to be on the front page of the New York Times or on the New York Post, more likely? So it takes a special kind of courage to go all the way for these kind of people.
It does, but I also want to give people a little hope there, which is that we are here solidifying that relationship and boundary so that as the next person is put forward, as they come in, there's more protections. I mean, you can't stop, hit jobs from the CIA leaking something to some idiot journalist, if you can even call him that, and putting out some slime job about PTSD on Grusch. You can't, we predicted that. You can't stop that. But we're talking about much more important protections where if you are active and working in an NHI, non-human intelligence reverse engineering program, that you as an active employee won't be harmed within your career. I mean, you're probably done if you come forward as far as in that community. But if you do it the right way through the ICIG and you do it the right way through our unique way we can facilitate people in, you will be more protected than the past. We've learned with each one, with David Grusch, we've learned how to make that even better. And to affirm what you just said, yes, there is deep concern because of how it's gone a little bit sideways when they've come forward to AARO. We have eliminated that now. So now we're working on a different level. People could have higher confidence coming forward, but you got to be careful who you come forward to. So that's really important. How you come forward and who you come forward to. Because I see sometimes, George, people's names are leaked and it's like accidental. And I don't want to talk shit right now, but come on. You got to be gentle with who you come forward to so that you protect yourself. With that said, just a couple other little things I wanted to talk about, just like little fun things. Or this one is kind of deep, actually. So I was talking with Commander Fravor the other day, and he shared some information that came to him that was just, email style. But George, it was passage material. And I don't know if people on our podcast know what that means, but sometimes in SAPs or special access programs, they have what they call passage material. It's material that is leaked to people. People try to hit us with this shit all the time, George, like false information as journalists, like they're going to use our mouths to their benefit. Little do they know we're good at our job. But the thing is that this material is being passed around to people like even Commander Fravor, where they're trying to kind of convince him that Lockheed Martin, as an example, had some sort of similar technology to what he saw. First of all, he laughed. He's like, if people knew my job right now, they would know that I know that is not true. So it was just, he said it to me as like an alert. Have you seen this before? And I said, I have. Do you understand what's happening, Commander? And he goes, I do. So basically, it's a really interesting story, and it has a lot of real information in it. But there is a core fake information in there. They call it passage material. It was eventually, I can backtrace it, reverse engineer it, where it comes from an agency. And I'm just going to say it, man. Why does the CIA have a completely different methodology of shaping the emerging UAP narrative compared to other good agencies? Like, there are some good people in the Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation, in the DOJ, as I said, even in the DOE, DIA, there are good people looking to give correct information. So I just want to tell you, there's passage material being pushed around within the UFO community, and people are being approached by individuals, and they're kind of like boasting about it. Shut your mouths. You don't even know who these people are. So I just want to kind of give that little hidden message to people. Careful who you talk with. There's people trying to give you fake information. You got a question, call Crazy Uncle Jeremy. I will let you know and give you the receipts and the documents, as the kids say, of what I know to be false information people are trying to get out into the media. So it's a weird time. It's an information warfare moment. This is a moment where 2024 is going to be defined by our human intelligence. It's going to be defined by our ability to separate the wheat from the chaff, as you say, and I say the bullshit from the truth. That 2024, we're going to have new hearings. We're going to have more congressional hearings on UFOs. There's two ways that can happen. I prefer one way, but sometimes the other way works. But we're going to have more, and I want people to be very confident in that. They are happening. Can you confirm that too, George?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I was feeling pretty positive after having these conversations last few days that the members of Congress who've been out in front on this issue are still committed, at least the names that we know best. They're still committed to get to the bottom of it. They recognize there are some high hurdles to jump here, that there may not be a select committee dedicated to UFO and UFO hearings, but there will be UFO hearings. There will be witness testimony under oath, and the public will be able to see some of this. Here's the other thing I was really encouraged by. Even though AARO has been gutted, we know that there are good people there, and maybe it can be resurrected. Maybe they can still do a good job. There are efforts to make it go away entirely. I think that there are people who would like to say, this report shows they couldn't find any evidence. Let's cut our losses here, eliminate that program altogether, as they did with the UAP task force. We know from multiple conversations this week and beyond, here in DC and beyond, that the UAP task force officially does not exist anymore. But you know what? It existed before it had that name. There was a group of people who worked on this stuff under a different umbrella, unofficial, below the radar, who were doing good work before UAP Task Force was actually an entity. And I think there's a chance that it exists even now, that outside of AARO, there is a version of that. There are remnants of that where really dedicated, smart people who are interested in this and know there is truth to be told are still working together to get to the bottom of it. And that was very encouraging to hear that. And in addition, you mentioned about other agencies, other entities, formal entities that maybe the public is unaware of, but they are also on the job and have taken it seriously and are trying to gear up and do solid work. And that was very encouraging to see that confirmed to us this week.
Yeah, and you said maybe, like, it was confirmed to us, and we already knew it to be true, but it's confirmed again. So that's great. Look, a lot of people are on this. They're hunting for the truth on UAP, whatever that truth might be. We deserve to know, but I hate that word. We have the right to know. Anybody that fights for this has a right to know and a need to know. And as I've said before, you and I feel a duty to find out. Now, there's a couple of shout outs I want to do because some people have really impressed me. I mean, no joke. I don't get to see a lot of social media because I'm just too busy, man. I got a day job and a beautiful life and I enjoy myself. But there's a few people I want to, say something about today. One is there's a YouTube account that kind of popped up out of nowhere called Here Suddenly on YouTube. And the guy that runs that channel, he was so thoughtful. For the first time, he showed so clearly, that Holloman Air Force Base footage that Emma Nager put out in a movie called my favorite UFO movie, UFOs, Past, Present, and Future, narrated by Rod Serling. I've said it so many times on this program. Watch that shit. Okay, so this guy goes in, and I was always told there's a few frames of the actual UFO landing at Holloman. And that's kind of what Emma Nager intimated, didn't ever say it, but intimated. Well, this guy just proves right away, no, they were filming the airfield. That was a plane coming in. It was just so beautiful to see somebody who wasn't like against or trying to debunk the UFO thing, but was like, let me tell you what's up. Let me show you the facts. And that was just so cool. So I'm like, well, this guy's smart. What else did he do? Well, he did a short video on that Columbia UAP. And I don't know, this is not my case, but it is a very famous image. It looks like a Stingray kind of machine that comes up past a prop plane. And I watched that a bunch and I thought it was interesting. This dude from Here Suddenly on YouTube, he saw something nobody else did. And when somebody does that, I'm thinking this dude is looking. What he showed is that there's another object in the frame after the UAP goes by the plane. But the thing is, he expanded the screen and he shows you what it would look like if this thing was the same object, because we don't know. It was a very weird analysis he did. And he shows this UAP fly by the plane and how it would have to hook and turn and shoot back away. Now, I don't know if it's correct, but I'm watching that guy.
But there's one other piece of data that I found, something that potentially makes this video much more compelling. It's something that happened so quickly that it's really easy to miss, and I didn't actually notice it until I got the video onto my computer and started digging around. Some of you may have noticed it already, but it goes by so fast it's easy to miss. See if you spot it here. Did you catch it? I'll play it a bit more slowly and point out what I'm talking about. So you see that there? Something appears to zoom away from the plane. But what are we seeing there? Is it a bird? A bug in the cockpit? Another plane? A drone? Or could it maybe be the object that just passed the plane, zipping away at tremendous speed? Let's consider this scenario for a moment and imagine the object turning and accelerating away. What might it have looked like if the camera had continued to follow it? Well, it might have looked something like this. Which obviously would have been insane acceleration, insane capability, but it would give us some clarity about the nature of the object. But if it's not this object turning around and speeding off, what is it? Whatever it is something that was moving fast enough to keep up with the plane and remain visible from the window for a moment. I'm not entirely sure it could even be a bird, though I know there are others who could speak more knowledgeably about that. And the idea of it being an insect in the cockpit just doesn't seem very likely, given the focal length of the camera and the limited amount of space between the camera and the window glass. So I don't really know what to make of this. Well, these details don't really prove anything. They're just observations, but I did think they were interesting enough to point out, considering how much attention this video has been getting.
Here suddenly on YouTube, I'm watching you because you've got a sharp eye, man. So whether you are able to debunk things, that's not the right word, prove one thing compared to the other, I'm with you. We're all after the truth. What you did on that Columbia UAP thing, that guy, what he did, it was good. I encourage people to go watch it. We'll try to put a link to that video analysis he did in our show links, as they say. Another guy I want to shout out to, I think his name is Eric Jungman, how you say it. He runs this thing on social media, like on Instagram, called Cult of Kindness or something. You look it up. He did this like cool fan poster of the series I was in, UFO Revolution, which, Chris Sharp was in. Shout out to Chris Sharp. A bunch of other people like that. It was so cool to see. It's this awesome, awesome poster. I to be clear, I'm just a fan. I get nothing from this, but I bought a bunch of those posters. They are so cool. So I don't know if you've seen it, George, but it looks like the jellyfish with the UFO Revolution. So that guy, a Cult of Kindness, Eric Jungman, that dude is a great artist.
Did I see a coffee cup or something with that image on it?
I don't know. He might.
Coffee cup, yeah.
He should do that. I don't know. I'm a fan of art because of my history with art. And when artists just create things for the idea of getting beautiful things out there about UAP and UFO, I just think it's cool. And if I'm, want to be loud about it, I will be. And so that was another shout out. But finally, the last shout out for today, really important to me. Now, I don't go to a lot of music shows. I'm kind of musically stunted, my wife will say. I don't got good taste in music, but we can agree on one band, me and my wife, and it's called The Licks. It's Juliet Lewis and The Licks. She's that actress from a bunch of great movies. Yellow Jackets is a new show, but she was in a big movie called Natural Born Killers. And she's a beautiful human being. I saw her in this tiny little venue just rock out. Now, George, just wondering, have you ever seen this sticker before, George?
I have. I've been seeing it all over the place, including multiple locations here in Washington, strangely enough, along with another sticker, I might add, that has been shown. I've been seeing it actually all over the world. I went to Brazil recently, and I saw it, strangely enough, in multiple places in Brazil. But yeah, I saw this Juliet Lewis sticker. I am a patriotic guy. I get emotional about the museum, the national parks and national monuments here in DC. And when I get to DC, I always want to go see them.
All right, here we are. We're going to
Lincoln Memorial,
which is like right there. And here we are. Let me get serious. Here we are. And I was just, look behind me. I swear on my life, I did not do that on this trip. That is amazing, that sticker. All right, here we go. Let's do it. Man, DC was fun, George.
Yeah.
Let's out these crazy drivers. DC was fun. I'm really hoping we get a weaponized episode out about this.
I'm hoping this car does not hit us, right?
Yeah, I hope the car doesn't hit us. And then also, I hope that we can tell a little bit about what happened this weekend.
Yeah, I think we could tell that story.
Yeah, we'll tell that
Some of
story.
it.
Some of it. Look at this. Look at this. We got Yoda in his coat. Yeah. Oh, it's raining.
Jefferson Memorial is maybe my favorite. Lincoln Memorial, Vietnam Memorial. So we went to go see the Lincoln Memorial in the rain last night, and strangely enough, Juliet Lewis was there with us.
Hey, Juliet, check this out. It's the craziest monument ever. Isn't it wild? Hey, man.
Hey, perv. Leave my coat alone.
Hey man, check it out. I gotta confess here. I have so much fun, George, with what we do. I can't believe it sometimes, the rooms that we're in. It's gotta be because of you, man, because who's gonna let this guy in those rooms? But I am having so much fun going around this earth, kicking down doors, trying to figure out what's going on with the UFOs. I don't know the ultimate truth. I don't know if anybody, as you've said, knows the ultimate truth. But I know we are making progress. I know for sure we are making progress. Not only am I learning more every week, tomorrow I'll know more than I know today, because look at that thumbs up again that popped up. Tomorrow I will know more than I know today. And that's so encouraging, because there's very few things in life that are uncharted. And the UAP, UFO mystery, is uncharted. We need more participation. We need popular culture. We need every single person to be interested, to jump in. This is, if what is going on appears to be correct, this is the biggest story humanity has ever faced head on in our current timeline of modern day human being. I really hope that we get to do this for a long time, because we are good at kicking in doors together. And I know sometimes I ask you, should I be from zero to Jeremy? What should I be? And you're always like, be yourself. Like sometimes I get a little intense. You can explain that if you want, but I get super intense because I'm impatient. However, the other night you told me only a 4. Why'd you say that?
Just sometimes with different witnesses or sources or, friends that we're talking about, sometimes it's good to take it down a couple of notches and not overwhelm them right off the bat. Your enthusiasm sometimes bubbles over and can scare people because it is such a high level of exuberance. I'll put it that way. But, taking it down to a level 4 sometimes puts people at ease. Then you can crank it up to an 8 or a 9 in the course of a 30-minute conversation. I guess, I was concerned about this trip because, as we said earlier in the beginning of the conversation, Congress has so much on its plate, and they've made progress on the UFO issue, but they run into a lot of roadblocks, and they get beat up about it on a regular basis. So I wanted to, one of our primary goals here was to test the waters and get a sense of the lay of the land, how people see it going forward. It's very encouraging to me that the people who have been the most committed to this issue are still committed, that people who are coming into government, into key positions now, have learned from the people who have left, and they are committed as well to getting into the bottom of it. And they know that it's a steep climb, that the odds are high. And then the people who have left government, who are no longer in these positions of authority, are also still deeply committed to it and will help going forward. We got a lot of positive news during this trip, and there are a lot of things that point in a good direction. It is an uphill climb. It is going to be a tough sled to go forward, to get to the bottom of this. But there are a lot of great people who are still in the fight. There's a long way to go, but a lot of progress has been made. And there's some encouraging signs that we learned this week.
Well, this trip ain't over. And by the time people see this, your travel curse should be lifted. You should be kicking your feet up back at home in Las Vegas, Nevada, like a Scirocco. I'm going to get you there safe and sound. It will be a great trip, but we ain't done yet. So I can say this now, just prior to people hearing it. We got one more meeting, George. You ready?
Yeah, this is a good one. This is a really good one.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So this was episode 50. So the next one, we'll have to see what happens.
Wait. What's the number of the next episode?
I'm not good at math. We'll have to figure that out.
No, I think it's 51.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Does that number have any significance to you?
Doesn't ring a bell. Not really.
Okay. Well, look, this is not the last episode of Weaponized, and the next one is indeed 51. So that should be interesting, George.
Should be fun. We'll have to think of what the topic could be.
Let's talk then. See you later, man.
Never have so few had so much to tell, but could say so little.